Well, I can't tell you how long I've waited to do this one because I've admired, well, we've known each other for a long time. And I've admired the work that both of you do. But before we start talking about specifics, one of the things that impresses me the most about you is that both of you, and Jon, we'll start with you, both of you have a front row seat to sports history.
It's been an incredible ride since being at USC back in the day in the early 80s and shooting football games and just trying to get my foot in the door and try to get to different events here and there, and then being blessed to meet Andy and showing me the way to get things done and to get out there and shoot events. And it was all a learning experience because back in the day it was film and the process was a little longer, but now that it's all digital, everything's like right on top of you. But to just have all this history of, hey, I shot the Niners when Joe Montana played. I shot the Lakers when Norm Nixon was there. I mean, it's been such an incredible ride.
And with you, you can say the same thing, just change the names.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was very fortunate at the beginning of my career that I merged both the Dodgers and the Lakers. I was working for both of them at the same time, and Jon was introduced to me by the great Steve Brenner, who we all know,
Yes.
the guru of LA PR. And I think it was like in '84 or something like that, Jon. And Jon came in, and I thought for the first 2 years Jon was a mute. Because he never spoke. He never talked to me.
He talks now.
I would ask him something,
about.
and he would nod. No, but we had a great relationship right off the bat. And that, like Jon said, this was back in the day when we were shooting film. So we had to do a lot of black and white film. We had to process the stuff, make prints, and the Dodgers needed it the next day. And we had other clients too, and NBA clients, and we were working for a lot of teams and a lot of venues.
A lot of teams, a lot of magazines, a lot of cards, a lot of everybody you can imagine we were supplying images to because there wasn't a Getty, there wasn't a AP Images, there wasn't a...
And photos didn't exist.
Yeah, we were the house of where they came to, hey, can you send some slides of this game or that game, and we package it together and ship it out, FedEx, and either it got used or didn't get used, and they return it, and that was the business.
Yeah, we were working out of my garage in Pasadena.
Get out of
I had
here.
a garage, made an office out of it, gutted it out, made an office.
It was awesome.
And, I was lucky enough to
Awesome or awful?
No.
It was awesome.
He had a swimming pool.
Yeah,
He put a basketball hoop right right at the edge of the pool, so we played dunk ball.
Yeah,
we had like summer breaks, like.
Yeah, we had long lunch breaks. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was great.
So there was this mutual admiration society right from the beginning.
Yeah, because Jon's passion for sports, first of all, matched mine. He grew up in the LA area, I grew up in New York, but we had the same passion for sports. We had the very similar work ethic that he got from his dad, and I got from my dad. And we had the same kind of, I guess, the same goals in mind, that we wanted to sort of take over LA sports photography, which we did.
What is it that you two like about each other the most?
I think just like with you and how you take care of your people and everybody, they're a part of your community and your life. He made me part of his life, and so that was a pretty cool thing because when I'm at USC working for the Daily Trojan, and I'd bring home 8x10 prints from my dad and mom to look at because they're USC football fans. They went to all the games in the past, and so to have them help me get to that point where my photos meant something when I brought it to him, he was like as excited as my folks were when But the fact that we keep it's all about a team. It's not about individuals.
And what do you like most?
Well, I just love Jon's personality from the get-go, that he wanted to be part of the group, part of what we were doing. He never, ever in the almost 40 years I've known him, has made it about him. And you can see his relationship, the rapport he has with the athletes, with the team owners, with people in the media like yourself, that he's just a genuine person. And his photography ability is above and beyond, most of the people that we know in this business.
And that leads to, what does it take to be a really good sports photographer? Because you have to have the trust and admiration of not only the organization, but the athletes themselves.
Well, that's a part of the rapport that you have to have, and through time and communicating with the players themselves, you get that chance to have that bond increase. And spring training really helps with that, because especially in Vero Beach, Florida, you'd be down there for a month, 6 weeks, and you'd be embedded with these guys for forever. And I just kind of like carried that on through 35 years worth, So it's just a matter of the relationships I built.
I would imagine the key word that comes to mind now is trust. They've got to trust you more so than you trust them.
Yeah, and the trust has to be consistent through your career, because I found that with Magic very early. Magic and I basically were rookies together. I came onto the scene in his second season, and we bonded immediately because he trusted me to be around him and his family and to do things off the court. And then, when I'm in the locker room or I'm traveling with them, that trust just sort of, was inherent. And then when Kobe came on the scene in '96, I had already been working for the Lakers in the league for 13 years at that point. So that reputation sort of preceded us meeting each other. And of course that continued for 20 years and, became an unbelievable relationship. What's really important is you have to be a great photographer. I think you have to have a good eye. You have to, have all the skills of a photographer. But the trust element, the integrity, the professionalism, if you don't have those elements, you could be the greatest photographer in the world, but nobody wants to work with you, or nobody wants you to work for them. You're not going to have a career. So I saw that with Jon very, very early, that his photography was a given, right? And even as a young photographer, his ability was so good. And I had no problem sort of bringing him in and then helping him develop and then turning it over to him. I mean, I was with the Dodgers from '84 to '95. By '88, my NBA life had become almost year-round. So, the crazy story is that the Dodgers go to the World Series in '88, and I'm there for Kirk Gibson's home run, and Jon is there. He's on the first base line. I'm at the third base near the dugout. Kirk hits the home run. I get the pictures. Next thing I know, I'm on a plane going to Madrid, Spain, because the NBA is bringing the Celtics over for the McDonald's Open. First time they're bringing a team overseas. Jon shoots the rest of the World Series. Complete 100% trust. So, if one of us was going to get a ring from the World Series, it should have been him.
He's talking like a proud papa.
Yeah.
That's what he's talking about.
Well,
and you are his offspring.
Well, I love that. That's good. That works for me. I appreciate that.
So, but you guys go back so far. It's really amazing, the friendship, the relationship that you have. I remember, here's this picture. This picture.
Oh my God.
Let me tell you the story behind this, what I know about this picture. I remember when Dr. Buss bought the Lakers, and the league said to Dr. Buss, "Oh, Dr. Buss, we don't have bands in our arenas." Dr. Buss said, "You do now." And the league says, "Well, Dr. Buss, we don't have cheerleaders in our arenas." And Dr. Buss says, "You do now."
Yeah.
And look who's right in the middle of all of it.
Yeah, that was crazy. We did some crazy shoots in the day, man. This particular one was.
I wouldn't call this a crazy shoot. I'd call this a privilege.
Well, yes, but it was crazy because the Laker girls wanted to celebrate the championship and do a poster. This particular photo ended without us in it, of course, and our good friend Al Gonzalez in the back.
How did he end up in it?
I don't know. How did he end up? Who actually took that picture?
Somebody had to carry stuff into the building along with me.
Yeah, we must have had it on a tripod and put it on a timer or something. But back in the day, we would jump in and we'd have a lot of fun. These were stressful shoots. This was in the Forum Club. You remember, Jim, the Forum Club had very low ceilings. The rooms were very small. They wanted to do a celebration of the championship. I think this is like for the holiday card or something.
Yeah, it was.
And
Well, that's not what the Forum Club was really known for, but that's a different story.
It's somebody else's holiday, but
That's somebody else's holiday. But it's amazing because it's like we talked about earlier. You two have had a front row seat to the best events in sports history.
it's been pretty cool. I mean, we used, Rams and Raiders were in town. We had the Clippers and Lakers, of course, and then Kings and Ducks. But I could do a Raider game during the daytime and park in the same VIP lot at the Coliseum, just walk next door to the sports arena and shoot the Clipper game with them after. I mean, It was just made for, it was perfect. It was a perfect world.
It wasn't unusual for us to do 6 games on a weekend.
Yeah, in a heartbeat.
You know, you'd have a Laker game Friday night, you have a SC or UCLA game every Saturday afternoon. You'd have a Kings game or a Clipper game. And then the next day you'd have a Rams or Raider game, and you'd have probably another Laker game on Sunday night. You know, and we were either there together or we were splitting it up. And by that point we had a couple other guys working with us, you know, which it was busy. It was fun.
It was awesome. It was so much fun.
And the most fun was on Monday when we'd get all the film back from the weekend from the lab, you know, and we'd be going through it in the office. And by that point we had moved over to an office similar to this that I had in Pasadena. And you remember that office had it was kind of like a loading dock situation that we thought, oh, we'll put a studio in here. You know, we had these built out offices, and then we had this big, like, you know, it was
with a porch to shoot down or a balcony to shoot down from.
We never did one studio shoot in there. We were playing street hockey. I think we played
roller hockey.
Roller
It
hockey.
was for your own amusement.
Hey, we also had a batting cage. There was a batting cage across the street.
That's
we
right.
all the time.
That's right. Yeah.
So you're frustrated athletes as well.
Very frustrated.
Every day.
Yeah, I'm a little Jewish guy from Brooklyn, Jim. You know, I mean, I wasn't making any teams. John is the athlete of the whole group. You know, he played in high school and he still plays today basketball.
If it wasn't for COVID, boy, I'd be in shape.
Was there ever a time when either one of you would call each other and say, oh, you should see the shot I got of Kobe last night, or of Kurt Gibson and stuff like that?
No, it was the other way around. We would call each other and say, wow, I saw that shot you got last night, or I'm going through the film here, or I just saw the cover of whatever magazine or trading card, and damn good picture, man. I mean, we would never toot our own horn.
I'll never do that. Pat myself on the back.
Yeah.
He would pat you on the back.
And I'll go the other way too. I mean, the shots that he has are just incredible. That, you know, I just try to think otherwise, that you're not a normal newspaper photographer where you're trying to get stuff for your page one or whatever. You're trying to get something different. And so being a team guy, you actually have that ability to go do some things that are different. And then when you are able to pull it off, it's phenomenal.
But also being a team guy, and we talked about it earlier, about having the trust of athletes. Was there ever a time when an athlete came up to you and said, hey, listen, I need you to, get me a couple of shots tonight?
Oh, like daily.
Every day.
The king of that was Shaq. I mean, Shaq, there's always something Shaq needed every day. He'd go, hey, Andy, I got the buddies in the third row, or come back after the game, or whatever it was. And I love doing it. It's just like John. You know, it's just part of the job.
It is.
And that builds the trust, the friendship, and they know they can depend on you. They know that you're there.
And then they'll call you to do their Christmas card.
Yeah, exactly.
So we know about Shaq with this one. What about you?
You name it. Well, you know, Tommy is always Tommy. He doesn't hit me for one anything, but it's funny. But like Joe Torre, I would know. It was almost like I felt like Pete Souza almost. But I would be able to, he would have these guests come every day, and I'd just like, no, it's time to take a photo, because Joe would give me that look and like, all right, stand together, let's get a quick shot, you guys. And it was just that kind of camaraderie that we have. I have it with players that, once I shoot something. Well, now because of social media, it's like, send it to me. Yeah. Like, all right, well, because it takes me about an hour to get back to my computer to, eventually do this. Now we're just doing it by phone at this point to send it by way of our phones. But just to have it's constant now that social media is such a beast. Everybody wants everything that we take immediately. Yeah. Especially after this bubble thing and the World Series and all the families that are locked in. The kids are running on the field, and their wives are like yelling at me to get the pictures with the kids and the player, and then the wives will come out, and so. It was a busy.
Speaking of the bubble, what was it like taking pictures in the bubble and knowing all the restrictions that you had?
It was different shooting in the bubble, for sure. I mean, I'm used to being on the court, right on the baseline, literally 2-3 feet from the guys. I'm used to doing things behind the scenes, being in the locker room, the interaction. None of that existed in the bubble. We needed to keep our distance. We were assigned to positions off the court. So if you were watching the games, you didn't see anybody, any photographers or videographers on the court. It's completely clean. So that was a different experience. It was kind of a saving grace, actually, because we were in one arena. By the time I started shooting the conference finals, we were in one arena. And so I set up all my equipment, which takes hours to set up, all the remote equipment, set it up once and left it there. Basically turned it off at night and came back the next day. But I was doing At one point, I did 16 games in a row, and then I had 2 off days the entire time. 7 weeks I was there, 53 days. But I didn't have the traveling, I didn't have the wear and tear in that way. But I was just grateful to be working. Hadn't worked in 5.5 months at that point. Mm-hmm. So that was good. And I thought the NBA did a phenomenal job keeping all of us safe. We're in the middle of Florida, which is kind of the epicenter at that point of COVID. But it was really a remarkable accomplishment.
And John, what about you? I know you have similar experiences.
It was quite interesting because the regular season started out, and I wasn't part of the lower tiers. I was tier 3 media, which was not on the field at all. So, but I had the run of Dodger Stadium, literally. I'd just find a place from anywhere in the outfield or on the upper levels, or I'd just walk around, just shoot beauty shots until the game started. And the part about Dodger Stadium, have all those cutouts in the background, is that it looks like there are fans there in a still photo. And so it really helped a lot of my photos out. But when we got actually into the actual real bubble, I got lowered into the normal tier. It was really not really that different, other than there were no fans there was no other media there. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we got put at the Globe Life Stadium in Texas, we were there for the whole month. We didn't have to go anywhere. We didn't have to travel to another ballpark. We were in their clubhouse, the home clubhouse. And so it was, it really is not that cool to have COVID going on. But in that situation, I was living. I really enjoyed having that access. The guys trusted me. I trusted them. I'm meeting in the food room like they are. And, it's just different access points to little street areas that I was able to go to because nobody in authority could tell us not to go because they were not part of that bubble. So it was really, there were some great photos to be made in that situation.
Do you think this is the way of the future now as far as sports is concerned?
Well, I think at least, in the near future, yes. I think that the arenas, the stadiums are going to have to address distancing, COVID protocols for the fans. We're reading a lot of different things about everything from, paperless tickets and how they're going to serve people, and how the access is going to be in the distancing in the arenas and in the stadiums. I don't know how that's going to turn out. I mean, I hope one day, I think we'll be back to the way it used to be, but we might be a few years away from that. I think it has to, the vaccine has to come in. Everybody's got to be 100% safe and secure in the fact that we can go back to the way it was.
And there's only just a few fans that we're seeing in stadiums now.
Well, the 11,000 that were at Globe Life for the World Series and playoffs, it was loud, man. It was intense. And granted, there was like 2/3 Dodger fans, but man, that was so exciting to have that total vibe. I mean, when that final out hit, man, it was just incredible. But there were only 11,000 fans there, and a lot of them were actually wearing masks, and then a lot of them weren't. So it's just a matter of how long this lasts. But
Yeah, I have to say, Jim, I think the quality of play, from what I saw in baseball and even hockey, which I watched a little bit of when I was in the bubble, but on the NBA side, the quality of play, I don't think took a hit at all. I mean, I think the guys came to play. From what I saw in the NBA from the bubble before I even went there, there was no let up. I mean, they were playing as hard as they would if they were in a full arena. I think the energy of the fans affected them a little bit, and probably the same way in baseball.
Oh man, it's goosebumps. That's how exciting it was to have fans in the house.
Yeah.
I mean, after a stadium being completely empty, all of a sudden you have only 11,000 there, but it's still, did you feel the energy coming through?
Yeah.
And just goes to show you how important the fan is to the game.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, for sure.
It's absolutely incredible. When you think about what you have done, and not only are you representing yourself or your company and the team, but you're also representing the city.
Absolutely.
And that is a major responsibility in itself.
It is, and it's I love it because as a 4th generation Chinese American, born and raised in Los Angeles, my grandfather's the founder of LA Chinatown. I mean, there are a lot of parts to be proud about being from Los Angeles and representing. So.
Yeah.
And I know you feel the same way.
Well, I do, and it's interesting because I grew up in Brooklyn, and my family were diehard Brooklyn Dodger fans, and they were devastated in '58 when the Dodgers moved to LA, right? Hated the Yankees. I was not allowed to even bring a Yankee baseball card in my house. This is a true story. And so when I moved to LA and I got the Dodger job, it was like the greatest thing that ever happened to my family. They didn't care about me, but it was like, we had a Dodger connection again. And so I took to LA very early as a fan, and I became a fan of the Kings. Kings were the first team that I worked for or worked with as a student. And then, of course, the Lakers and the Clippers moved in '84, and the Dodgers, I've been a Dodger fan since day one.
Then there's the serious side of what we have been going through this year with all the issues about social injustice. And you two gentlemen, once again, a front row seat to how our athletes were supporting these causes.
Mm-hmm. It's incredible. And Mookie taking a knee for the anthem first, for the opening day was, this is pretty cool gesture, and to have Cody and Max put their hands on him and support. The whole team was, that really breaks down to is that they were supporting each other as a team. No matter what color you were, they were all going to be in together as a team, and that's what is so phenomenal about this team, led by Dave Roberts, who's half black, half Japanese. So it just shows that, just really, this exterior doesn't really matter. It shouldn't matter. It should be just what you're doing out as your team, as how you're performing, and how you're, what you're doing with that.
And as far as the Lakers are concerned, we would see LeBron and Anthony Davis out front, but from Jeannie Buss on down, Jeannie said, I've supported, I want my players to support it, and the Lakers and the Dodgers have always been in the forefront of social issues.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was doing my 7-day quarantine in the bubble in Orlando when the NBA shut down over the Jacob Blake shooting, and then everything having to do with Breonna Taylor. And as you remember, it shut down for 3 days. We didn't know if actually we'd play. I mean, the players were deciding whether they were going to continue the season or not. And I didn't know whether I'd come out of the 7-day quarantine and then just go home. But I actually took it upon myself, quite frankly, to learn really about what was going on. I've worked around African-American athletes my entire career, and to see what they were going through and struggling with, and what Black Lives Matter really meant. It wasn't just a slogan, and I really took it upon myself. I engaged with some journalist friends of mine. I talked to some players. I had some conversations with Doc Rivers down there. So I hope I came away a little bit more awake and more informed. And now I'm using my platform, my Legends of Sport podcast, to actually talk about athletes and activism and social injustice and all the issues that are in the forefront. And it was wonderful to see what LeBron was doing, with his More Than a Vote, and get behind that. These guys have tremendous power through their platforms. And to have the teams, like you mentioned, Jeannie Buss, Steve Ballmer with the Clippers, as well as the Commissioner's Office, and everyone from the Players Association, the Retired Players Association, NBA, WNBA, they all had a voice. And I felt really proud to be part of that.
And in Major League Baseball, I was doing an interview one time, and I was talking about, wealth creates independence. And if you use that wealth and that independence in the right way, you can create change. And the Dodgers were certainly doing that as well, starting with Mookie.
Yeah, it's to see the bond that comes together from, no matter what level the player was, they were all together as one thought process as far as, injustice goes. It was nice to see because, they were a complete team, complete team.
And it moved you how?
In a lot of ways, Jim, because as a Chinese American, to see my Asian brothers getting beat up along the way here because of what what fire is being lit under other people, to do something like that is very it's demoralizing, and it makes me think about my own racial plight from where my family came from, how far back we came from, and then to see all the disrespect that comes from others about me not being, us not being from here or whatever, and go back to wherever you came from. It's just very disheartening to see that. And so to have the team have that kind of coordination to care is really impressive.
And then there's the responsibility that you have to make sure that you record this properly so that the message can get across.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you know, the NBA had Black Lives Matter, huge letters on the court. It was, you know, the players had the ability to put whatever they wanted on the back of their jerseys, and they had a tremendous voice. And like you said, it is a responsibility, because then I'm putting on my photojournalist hat, and you know, our pictures are very powerful. And I was grateful that I was put in that position, actually, to be able to record a historic moment in sports, and how sports sort of just transcended just being a sport, you know, the whole shut up and dribble thing, you know, and how we were able to get past that and understand that athletes have a responsibility, they have the platforms, and they can elicit change, and we can be part of that, we can help that.
It's amazing sitting here listening to you two talk, and to talk about each other and talk with each other, how much love and respect and admiration you have for each other that goes beyond sports.
Yeah, I mean, we've always been close anyway, but I think the fact that we have a history of being part of the LA scene, I mean, all those games at the sports arena, at the Coliseum, at the Forum, climbing up all those steps to carry all those packs upstairs, pull all the drop lines up from the top, top of the arena, to just going to all-star games together, and you bond with people who you care about. Thank God I was able to care about my boss.
Yeah, it's funny, Jim, because I never, I'm thinking about a conversation that LeBron and AD had after the finals about competing with each other. And John and I never competed. We complimented each other. You know, I depended on him to take care of my clients, but yet I looked at it more like we're a team, and it's our clients, because it's a reflection of both of us. And then we brought more other photographers on, and they had to either buy into what we were doing and have the same work ethic and the same integrity, or they weren't going to continue. We had a couple of guys.
It was really about our own team. We had our own little team of our group that would come together and do what we need to do at events. I mean, to this day, I bring that with me to Dodger Stadium. If I have like a playoff game going up, I'm going to have more photographers that are part of the the team. It's not going to be everybody's not going to get that great shot, but they're going to get great shots on their own from wherever they are going to be. So you just got to trust the whole process of working together, not just I have to get everything. So
how do both of you feel knowing you have helped to shape and mold and chronicle history, starting from the bad and now hopefully to the good?
Ooh,
that's a great question. I'm just really grateful when people recognize my photos, or photos we did together when we were working together. And even when I hear about photos that John has done, or other photographers who were under my wing for a while, and hear people react to them and know that they mean something. Of course, I'm hearing a lot about photos I've done of Kobe over the years. John actually took one of the most iconic photos of Kobe that was ever taken, a portrait of Kobe that's been reproduced now on, I can't even tell you how many murals that have gone up all over the world that have John's photo of Kobe laying on the floor with the ball behind him. And it's humbling, but it's also incredibly gratifying, because if our photos, especially just speaking of Kobe, if our photos can help continue his legacy and be the thread that sort of helps people through the grief, which has helped me to know that my photos have given people a lot of pleasure to look at and remember him and keep it going. The book we did together will always be out there. And historically speaking, Kirk Gibson's home run, and we just talk about that. John's photo from first base, my photo from third base. I mean, those will live on forever as the photos, with Joe Kennedy's famous photo from behind the left field wall.
On top of the bullpen.
Yeah, top of the bullpen. I mean, that's what will be remembered, even more than the video. Would be the still photos.
I gotta
really
believe
cool.
The exposure that comes now from social media, we're getting more eyes than we would ever have had before, because not that many. How many people read Sport Magazine or Inside Sport Magazine? This avid sport fan did, but because of social media and Instagram, our photos of everything we put up is either liked by thousands or whatever, that we would never get that kind of audience if it was just the old days of books and magazines and trading cards. And so our exposure has helped open eyes to everything that we have been through.
Yeah.
And so we've seen careers go on, and it's really gratifying to see actual still photos that actually mean something, that are not jammed out by people putting it on their phones as fast as they could and regurgitating. It's real images that took process and thoughts to put together, and positioning and lighting and all these things your crew has to deal with, we dealt with on a still photo platform.
You just got through hearing him talking about his favorite photo that you took. What about your favorite photo that he took?
Hands down, LeBron doing that dunk right there.
Well, you didn't waste any time on that one, did you?
You know what? Here's the deal, the backstory on that. I get a call in the morning. He wakes me up. Stop calling me so early. He says, hey, you got to cover ESPN magazine. Kobe's shot is on the cover, and you got a great shot, and congratulations. And I'm like, that's total love. I thought that's so cool. And then that night, he gets that shot. And so that was it. That is like the most phenomenal shot I have seen. That's more goosebumps, you'll feel that, like at certain points, photos bring that out of you. That's one of them.
It's really amazing listening to you two talk and compliment each other, because there's not one hint or tint of any kind of jealousy throughout. How many years have you known each other now?
I'd say 36 years, right? Yeah.
You two have been together longer than most marriages.
Divorced.
Yeah. Likewise. Hey, we were there when each of us got married. We were there when each of us had kids. We were there when each of us got divorced.
And we're still here. Like you and Fred Rogan.
Yeah. Oh, see, now there you go.
But Jim, but we helped each other through that. That's real life, and we would talk when we were in the office and we're looking through film and talk about him and his young boys, and talk about my kids. And then, now I'm in the second wave of having kids, and I have a 12-year-old, and we talk about that. So it's, that's part of life, and it's wonderful. And I think that goes with the athletes and the managers and the coaches and the team owners we know, because we get to know them personally, and we get to know their families, and it's a wonderful byproduct of being a sports photographer.
So sometimes at night when you put your head on the pillow, sometimes you can just relax and say, oh, wow, this was a good day. I got some incredible shots. I have some things that are going to go down in history. I have some things that are going to help young people to grow and mature and to be better citizens that give back to our community. And it's all going to be because of your photos.
I don't even think like that.
Yeah, I actually
when
think
I hit the pillow, I'm out.
I actually go the other way, and this is just my thing. Is that I think about what I might have missed at that game, or
out of focus.
Yeah, or why did Kobe
positioning.
go that way on the dunk and didn't go this way, or whatever. I mean, I beat myself up a lot, but having my advanced age now, I'm able to be a little bit more nostalgic about some of the photos I did and what they've meant and how they'll live on. Because what's great about photography is that it lives on. We were sort of nurtured and trained by the greats, the Mount Rushmore of sports photography, Neil Leifer, Walter Yost, the great Herb Scharfman.
Yes.
Herb Scharfman, who people don't even know who Herb Scharfman is, but he trained both of us, was on the original staff of Sports Illustrated. And by the time I became the Dodgers team photographer in '84, Herb was retired, and Peter O'Malley took the lead from his dad, Walter O'Malley, and took care of the Scharfmans and had them come to every spring training. They were living in Florida, retired. And Herb trained me, and Herb trained John, and was wonderfully generous, wonderful guy, crotchety old guy, but he was, could still shot every spring training game from his little chair.
He kicked my butt every day coming in with a home plate play.
Yeah.
And I'd go back and process and print. I'm like, God, how did you do that, Herbie?
Yeah, and he was in his 70s at
Herbie
that
was
point.
most known for being between Muhammad Ali's legs during that fight with Liston.
Yeah,
He's the bald
Ali
guy with
Liston.
glasses with a camera in his hand between Muhammad Ali's legs. That's Herb Sharfman.
That's unfortunate, because if that's what he's remembered for, because he was one of the icons, really.
I mean, I'm sitting here and listening to you two. It's like being in class and being taught the history of photography. This is really an experience that most people don't have a chance, especially to talk to two gentlemen who have recorded as much history as you two have.
Yeah. Well, you know what's fun, Jim, is that we share photographers and assistants. Juan Ocampo, who has worked with both of us for 30 plus years. John has him during baseball season. I get one during basketball and hockey season. Wonderful, part of both of our teams, egoless, fantastic photographer. There's a couple of assistants we've shared. We continue to share. Yeah. It's a great community of cooperation, I would say.
Absolutely.
And, I'm happy that when I get a call from John, hey, I got somebody, who might work with your system really well and needs some work. And I do the same with him. And, giving back to this next generation and sort of nurturing the craft as best as we can, because sports photography is a craft, and it's become, an art form in some ways as well. And I think John does too, we feel a responsibility to kind of keep that going with this new generation.
Well, it's kind of twofold also, because when we started, back in the old days when we were young bucks, we were focusing manually. We were exposing manually. There wasn't all this auto button pushing that you just touch and go. Granted, it's saving my career now because I'm able to keep on shooting. But the kids nowadays just think it's so easy to do, when we were in the trenches making strides to, get images that were not easy to get when you're manually focusing.
Because
Right.
That's my man over here.
over here, yeah. Because a lot of people don't know about f-stop
Darkroom work.
and Microdoll X.
Oh my God, Jim, what are we talking about? How do you know about Microdoll X?
Okay, see, Microdoll X. That's when you take pictures and you go back and you take them from one pan to another.
Yeah.
And you have to put it in Microdoll X, and you come in and put it in another solution. And you come and you put it in another pan. And when you get it in that final pan, then you start to see the image come. Then you hold it up and it's wet and you have to hang it up, and you look and you smile and you say, look what I just did.
Yeah. Well, you have experience doing that, right? Yeah.
Doggone right. That's one of the classes I took in school.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, that's where my love for photography really just gelled, because when I got in the darkroom for the first time, a friend of mine had a darkroom in his basement in Brooklyn in high school. I was a junior in high school, and he took me down there. We processed the film, and then he showed me how to put in the enlarger, and then you put in that developer, that solution in the tray that you're talking about. You got the orange light, and you see that image come up. It's literally a magic trick in front of your eyes. And you think, that started in my head. Like I saw that happen. Somehow it went through my eyes, through the camera, onto the film, and now it's coming up right in front of me. I mean, I still get almost goosebumps from it, because it's a lost art.
Oh, absolutely.
Nobody does darkroom work
anymore. It was such a wonderful process until you got the machine, and then we just end to end, it was dry to dry in 30 seconds.
Right,
but the process you mentioned is like, it's incredible. I mean, doing this at the Daily Trojan, my first early years of seeing a football player come up in the developer tray was just phenomenal. I mean, it was just.
So it really kind of surprised you to hear me talk about Microdoll X and stuff like
Jim,
that.
You never surprised me, but that really shocked me.
And just like Dr. Buss told the league that you have cheerleaders now, that you have a band now.
Laker girls, what?
Yeah, mm-hmm. You know what? Now he would probably say, we've got two great photographers now. And they have been here, they've left their mark, and thank goodness they crossed our path.
Well, I hope that's what he says.
Thank you, Jim. That's pretty heavy, and it's very, very complimentary. So thank you. It's very humbling.